Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer. I'm with Oculus Rift Reviews. Today we're going to review and play Wolfenstein Cyberpilot VR, a game by developer Arcane Studios Machine Games and publisher Bethesda Softworks. Released today on the Steam Store, July 25th, 2019, for the HTC Vive, the Valve Index, and Windows Mixed Reality. Now, for whatever reason, I have no idea why, Bethesda decided not to list the Oculus Rift as officially supported on the Steam page. But I'm happy to report I had absolutely zero issues with the Oculus Rift or the touch controllers. Everything worked just as you'd expect, no issues whatsoever, so that's the good news. The bad news is this is just not a very good game. It's rather mediocre all around, and I'm surprised by the lack of quality in here. I was not expecting a great game, but I was expecting at least some AAA production values, some story, some really good cinematic scenes, and really there's nothing here. The gameplay is not exciting. The voice acting, although good, it just really goes nowhere. The story is just very plain. It's very by the numbers. There's nothing exciting that's going on here. The graphics, probably the most important thing about the graphics in a title like this, because you are a cyber pilot, you're piloting these machines, is this immersion that you would get from being inside these machines. And the best way to do that is to give you the right cockpit feel to being in these machines, especially the giant ones. You have two really big machines that you're in, and also a drone, a tiny drone, and they all look the same from the cockpit. There's no difference between the big robot that you're in, or the cyberhound, or the drone. It really all looks the same, and the sense of scale is just off in this game. And inside the cockpit view is just pretty ugly. It doesn't look good. There's indie developers that make better cockpit views than this. It's just surprising. This is a very poor sense of immersion, because the thing that you're looking at the most, your cockpit, is what looks the worst in this game. Now, some of the backgrounds and some of the maps actually do look pretty nice, so I'm not going to say the graphics look terrible, but what you notice the most inside the cockpit view is the ugliest part of the whole game, and that's what you're seeing most of the time. It's really, I don't know, appalling that this would happen with a AAA developer doing this. It doesn't make any sense. The sense of scale is wrong. The sense of immersion is wrong, and it just really brings down the whole experience. Even if this is meant as a quick arcade romp, and I'm okay with that. It doesn't have to have a great story. It doesn't have to have the best gameplay in the world, but at least make the action intense. And unfortunately, the action is not really all that intense. It's kind of tame. Whether you're using the drone, whether you're using the Hound, or whether you're using the Titan, the big robot, it doesn't matter. It's just never exciting gameplay. Now, I played this on normal difficulty, so I haven't tried the harder difficulties, but it just wasn't really a challenge. And it's just not that it just wasn't a challenge, it just wasn't exciting. You have different weapons and different tools you can use, and that's nice, but it's never used in a creative way. You never really feel like you're in this giant war against these Nazis and it's up to you to save the world. You just never get that sense. It's like you're going from one mission to the next. They tell you what to do, and you go, and it's just pretty vanilla gameplay. It really is. It never feels new, innovative, or exciting. It's none of that. As far as VR gameplay, this is mediocre. It really is, and that's considering all the indie developers in VR. It's still mediocre. I'm not even grading this against other AAA titles. just as a standalone VR title pressed against any other VR title, the gameplay, the action is mediocre. It is just not exciting at all. And that was the most surprising part to me. I thought, okay, this is going to be arcade fun at the very least. But it's not. And it's just a real letdown. The whole game took me about 3 hours to complete. However, I will say that at least 30 minutes, if not an hour of that, was extra time because I experienced some really big issues with the game. The first issue that came up was getting no sound, and what I figured out is that your window actually has to be the one in front, otherwise there'll be no sound coming from your game. The other issue was more significant. I passed the level, and I was on to the next mission, and there was a loading screen in between. The loading screens aren't very long, but this one was taking very long, and I was like, what's going on? Anyways, I waited a good, I would say, 5 minutes before I decided, okay, there's an error here. It's not loading. So I had to quit, and when I came back to the game, I found out that my progress for that level hadn't saved. So I have to redo the level again from the very start. That was very annoying. The last level was probably the last error that I experienced was the most annoying one because an item did not spawn. So in between missions, in between the chapters, they tell you to fix the robots, and during one of those, they said to look for the flashing light, and I found the flashing light, but I didn't have my crowbar to open it up, and it was just missing. And of course, I didn't know that because I just didn't see it anywhere. I said, okay, but maybe you just don't need it for this one. And so I looked all around the flashing light. I tried to open it various ways, and I spent a good, I guess 10 minutes trying to figure that out. Finally, just said, okay, well, I don't know what's not working. Let me quit and restart. And lo and behold, when I restarted, there's the crowbar. And yeah, you have to use the crowbar to open up the panel to get that little card in there. So that was very annoying. So I experienced 3 bugs, 2 of them pretty major in my opinion. So the game is not very long. I would say it's closer to 2 hours than the 3 hours that it took me, but it might be, let's just be conservative and say 2.5 hours to finish the game. So there's not a whole lot there. The ending was very disappointing for me. I thought I was going to have an epic final boss battle or something, and instead it just kind of ends. And you're going to see that on the video. I'm actually showing the very end of the video, believe it or not. And then it just, at the end, it kind of just gets stuck there. That says something about, please wait. And so you're waiting. And I waited like a good 2 to 3 minutes, maybe longer. And finally, the next thing showed up, which is just some voice acting. And then you wait again, and you say, defend yourself, and you get these 2 guns. You can't shoot them. And then what happens is you just wait. And wait, and wait, and again, another, I don't know, it seemed like 5 minutes to me. And then the credits start rolling, and you're like, what, that was the ending? There was no epic boss fight or anything? There's no culmination of anything? And there are no boss fights in here. Maybe you can call them mini boss fights. And you can see here that some of the major enemies that you're fighting, those titans that you're going up against, some of the different machines that you go up against all together, and that's about the most exciting thing. Obviously, your drone, your dog robot, and your giant robot all have different skills, and so they do feel different. And it is kind of cool to use some of those weapons, especially the flamethrower. I really like that, but especially with the dog, it's just too easy. So that first level that you play in this game is just way too easy. There's no challenge. You just basically burn everything up. You do have a special ability where you can send a little shockwave all around you. And you can also ram into the enemy so you can speed up and crash into them. With this Titan one, you have like a shield that you can use to, take no damage. And obviously you have both the minigun and the missile launcher for that extra firepower. And with the drone, you obviously have that stealth capability, and you have that hacking tool minigame that this game has. The cutscenes in between and the hacking minigame was really subpar as well. For me, it was just filler that really just made the game a little bit more boring than it needed to be. And the action just never really gets that intense. So all in all, I'm going to have to give this game a 5.5 out of 10. I really think it's overpriced for what it is. It really should be at most a $10 game, and it's just not very good. It's just rather mediocre. I'm Fast Lawyer. If you like my video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching.